I thought I truly knew my wife of 18 years, until she left for a bachelorette weekend. And then I stumbled upon hotel receipts that shattered everything. The truth about her affair with our most important client nearly destroyed me, physically and emotionally. But when I uncovered the dark family secret she had been hiding, I realized this betrayal went far deeper than I could have imagined. My name is Lance Whitman. I'm 42 years old. Until 3 months ago, I believed I had a stable life. Married to Brenna for 18 years, with 2 amazing kids, Elijah, 16, who plays varsity basketball, and Lily, 13, full of attitude but endlessly amusing. We run a small travel agency together, Adventures Unlimited, in downtown Phoenix. We've nurtured it for 12 years through economic downturns and a pandemic, and only recently we're starting to see real success. I should have noticed something was wrong when Brenna got excited about her friend Crystal's bachelorette trip. Don't misunderstand. She deserved a weekend off. She had been working tirelessly on her corporate accounts while I handled the adventure tourism side. But the joy on her face when she talked about Sedona was unlike anything I'd seen in years. "It'll be good for me, Lance," Brenna said, packing her new designer luggage. When had she bought that? On Friday morning. Crystal had been organizing this for months, and everyone knew how she celebrated big events. I remember standing in our bedroom doorway, watching her fold unfamiliar clothes, a red dress with tags still attached, lingerie clearly not meant for me. But I pushed the doubts aside. I trusted her. We had built a life together, a business together. We were partners. "Have fun, babe," I said, kissing her goodbye. The kids and I would probably just order pizza and watch movies all weekend. She left Friday afternoon in high spirits, practically bouncing to her car with an energy I couldn't identify. She said they'd be staying at a resort in Sedona. Crystal wanted the full spa experience before her wedding next month. As I watched her drive away, I admired how radiant she looked in her happiness. That was my first mistake, ignoring the whispers of doubt in my gut. My second mistake was trusting Preston Hayes when he claimed he'd seen Brenna's car at the grocery store Saturday afternoon. Preston had been my closest friend since college, stood up at our wedding, and coached Elijah's basketball team. If anyone had my back, it was him. So when he said he saw her Honda at Safeway, I assumed maybe the girls had returned early for supplies. But then Crystal posted photos from Sedona Saturday night. Group shots by the pool, wine tasting moments, all typical bachelorette party fun. I scrolled through every single image twice, searching for Brenna. She wasn't in a single one. That's when the pieces started to form a picture, and it wasn't pretty. Sunday morning arrived, painfully early. I had been sitting in my home office since around 4 a.m., unable to sleep, when I heard her car pull into the driveway. The engine stopped, and for a moment, silence enveloped everything except the sound of my pounding heart. I stayed hidden in my chair, lights off, waiting. The front door creaked open, the familiar squeak I had meant to fix for months. Her heels clicked on the hardwood, those red ones she bought last month that I'd never seen her wear. The noise halted abruptly when she noticed the kitchen light was on. "Lance," Brenna called cautiously. "You're up early." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I listened to her moving around, probably wondering why I was awake at dawn on a Sunday. The refrigerator opened and closed. Water ran in the sink. Ordinary sounds that felt anything but normal. Finally, I spoke, my voice steadier than I felt. She appeared in the office doorway, still in that red dress, her makeup slightly smudged, hair different from Friday. She looked like she had been somewhere important, but not with her husband. "How was Sedona?" I asked, leaning back in my chair. "It was nice," Brenna replied, avoiding my eyes. "Really relaxing. Crystal enjoyed herself." I nodded slowly, then opened my laptop and pulled up Crystal's Instagram from the weekend. Resort photos, spa moments, dinners with everyone laughing and toasting the bride. "Looks like fun," I said, turning the screen toward her. Crystal seemed thrilled. Brenna glanced at the images, and I watched her expression shift, just a little, but enough. "Yeah, she said. It was exactly what she needed." I continued scrolling. "Funny thing, I don't see you in any of these photos. Not a single one." The silence that followed felt tangible, pressing against the walls of my office. Brenna stood there in that red dress, a woman I barely recognized. And for the first time in our 18 years together, I couldn't read her face. "I just don't look good in pictures," she finally admitted. "You know how I get with cameras when I'm exhausted, right?" I said, closing my laptop. Whatever you were doing this weekend, it clearly affected you. Her posture straightened slightly, though the careful control she tried to maintain wavered. What do you mean, Lance? She asked. I stood slowly, walking to the window, gazing out at our familiar neighborhood. The same houses, the same mailboxes, the same world I'd been living in while my wife apparently inhabited a completely different one. It means, I said, turning back to her, that Preston saw your car at the local grocery store Saturday afternoon. Here in Phoenix, not Sedona. The color drained from her face so quickly I thought she might pass out. Preston must be mistaken, she said weakly. Is he? I asked, my voice calm but sharp, because I have a very clear idea of what really happened this weekend. The real question is whether you'll keep lying or finally tell me the truth. Brenna sank into the chair opposite my desk. For the first time since she walked in at sunrise, she looked like the woman I had married, scared, guilty, caught. Lance, I can explain, she whispered. I'm listening, I said, sitting back down. But this is your one chance for honesty. Don't waste it. Her hands trembled as she sat there. Silence stretched until she finally broke it. His name is Devin, she whispered. Devin Clark. He works at Pinnacle Marketing. My blood ran cold. Pinnacle was one of our biggest corporate clients. I had sat through countless meetings with their team this year. You're having an affair with someone from our client company, I said, my voice deadly calm. It's not like that, Lance, she started, but I raised a hand. How long? I asked. 6 months, maybe 7, she admitted. While I had been working 60-hour weeks to keep our travel agency afloat, she had been involved with someone who could ruin our business reputation. It started innocently, she continued. We were planning their summer corporate retreat. He asked me to dinner just to discuss business, but then we started talking, really talking, and I felt alive again. Alive. I laughed bitterly. You felt dead being married to me? You were always busy, stressed about money or the kids' schedules. When was the last time we actually had a real conversation? She had a point, but I refused to let her shift the blame. So instead of talking to your husband about feeling neglected, you sought someone else? I asked, genuinely incredulous. I know it was wrong, she admitted through tears. But by the time I realized, I was already in too deep. I pulled out my phone and showed her the credit card alert from Saturday morning. A charge from the Marriott downtown, room 412. 2 nights, king bed. I said, watching her face go pale. Want to tell me more about Crystal's Bachelorette weekend? She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Not the pretty, cinematic kind, but the ugly, broken kind that comes from knowing you've destroyed something precious. I was going to end it after this weekend, she sobbed. I swear, Lance, I was going to tell him it was over. But you didn't, I said flatly. You spent 2 days with him, then came home and acted like nothing happened. She looked up at me, mascara running down her cheeks. What do you want me to say? I'm sorry. I am. I hate myself, I do. I love you and want to fix this. I do, Lance. I stared at the woman I'd shared a bed with for 18 years and realized I didn't know her at all. No, I said quietly. You love the security I provide, but you don't love me enough to remain faithful. The connection to Pinnacle Marketing hit me like a hammer, not only personal betrayal, but a threat to everything we had built professionally. Does he know you're married? Does Devin know about Elijah and Lily? Her silence said it all. He sat across from me in meetings, I said, my voice dangerously calm, smiling while I pitched travel packages for his company. I pulled up our client files. 3 major presentations in 6 months, 2 client dinners where Brenna insisted on joining, and a golf tournament she personally managed hospitality for last month. That's when you had your little rendezvous. It wasn't planned, she said weakly. On our client's dime, I continued. You used our professional relationship as a cover for your affair. Do you realize what this could do to our reputation? It won't get out, she said quickly. Devin's married too. He has just as much to lose. He's married? I said, staring at her. You're having an affair with a married man? His marriage has been over for years, she said defensively. They're staying together for the kids. Right, the oldest excuse in the book. I slammed my hand on the desk. What about everything I've been enduring? Working myself to exhaustion while you play house with some executive. I never meant for it to happen, she repeated. But it did, I said, stepping around to stand in front of her. And now I have to make decisions, not just about our marriage, but about the business, about the kids. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. We can get through this. Counseling, repairing our marriage. I'll cut all contact with Devin. You think it's that simple? I asked. You think flipping a switch fixes everything and life goes back to normal? We owe it to the children to try, she said, her final attempt. But for the first time in 18 years, I thought about what I owed myself. The kids, I said slowly. Elijah is 16. He's not naive. All those late nights, weekend emergencies, do they know their mother is cheating? The sheer panic on her face said it all. Monday morning brought an unwelcome reality. I was making coffee when Elijah, 16, came downstairs with his basketball gear. Dad, he said, dropping his bag. We need to talk. Something in his voice made my stomach drop. What's going on, son? I know about Mom, he said calmly. About what she's been doing. The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the tile. Elijah, I don't know what you think you know. I saw the texts, he interrupted. Saturday night, when you were arguing. Her phone kept buzzing. One came from someone named Devin. Missing you already, with a heart emoji. I knelt to clean the broken pieces, buying time. Son, adults sometimes go through rough periods. Don't treat me like I'm 12. I suspected months ago. Mom's been different. Happier, but not about us. She's been lying about where she goes. How long have you known? I asked, standing. I followed her once, he admitted. To that hotel. I saw her with some guy in the lobby. My heart broke. You followed her? Is that why you were fighting? Did you finally figure it out? Yes, Dad. I figured it out. What about Lily, he asked. Does she know? She knows something's wrong, but not the details. She asked me yesterday why Mom's been crying. Just then, Lily appeared in the doorway, clutching her stuffed animal, a rare gesture from the past years. Why is everyone yelling? She asked, scared. We're having a serious conversation, sweetheart, I said, opening my arms, and she ran to me. Is Mom sick? She asked. She's been acting strange. Overwhelmed, I met Elijah's eyes. He shook his head slightly. Mom and Dad are going through a tough time, I said carefully. But we'll figure it out. Are you getting divorced like Tommy's parents? The question hung in the air. I looked at my children, these amazing kids who didn't ask for this chaos. I don't know, baby, I said softly. But whatever happens, we will always love you. Tuesday afternoon at the travel agency, Preston walked in, my best friend since college, who'd stood up at my wedding, coached Elijah's team. The man who'd been wrong about seeing Brenna's car. Hey, Lance, he said, though something sounded off. Got a minute? Always, I replied, closing my laptop. What's going on? Preston sat down, unable to meet my eyes. After 25 years of friendship, I could read him. There's something I need to tell you about Brenna. I already know about the affair, I said quietly. I figured, he admitted, running his hand through his hair. The thing is, Lance, I've known for a while. The words hit like a punch to the stomach. You knew for 3 months? I asked, staring. I saw a car at that hotel one afternoon. Thought it was business, until I saw her leave with some guy. I didn't know how to tell you. Preston said desperately. So you let me live a lie? I said, my voice dangerous. You watched me work myself to the bone while my wife was cheating. I was trying to protect you, he protested. You seemed happy. Happy. I stood quickly. I seemed happy because I trusted my wife and my best friend. Lance, please leave, I said quietly. What? Get out of my office, my business, my life. Preston's face went pale. You don't mean that. 25 years of friendship. Friends don't let friends get played for fools, I said. You took the coward's way out. I made a mistake, he said, standing. I should have told you. I was afraid of getting involved. I corrected him. You decided my marriage wasn't your problem. That's not fair, Preston said, anger creeping into his voice. Fair. I laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? You knew something for 3 months that could have saved me from this humiliation. I was trying to be a good friend, Preston pleaded desperately. No, I said, opening the door. A good friend tells the truth. What you did was selfish and cowardly. Don't let one mistake define you, he begged. One mistake. I repeated. This has been a pattern. For 3 months, you chose to protect her secret instead of me. After he left, I sat alone staring at the wall. In 3 days, I had lost my wife, my marriage, and my best friend. Friday morning, I was at my desk reviewing Pinnacle marketing contracts when a sharp pain hit my chest, radiating down my left arm and making it hard to breathe. I gripped the edge of the desk, trying to ride it out, but it only intensified. Dad. Elijah's voice came from the doorway. He should have been at school, but he had come to the office. Dad, what's wrong? Nothing, I managed to say, though even I could hear the strain. Just tired. You're pale and sweating, Elijah said, moving closer. We're going to the hospital. I'm fine, I protested, but another wave of pain doubled me over. No, you're not, Elijah said firmly. I'm not losing my father because you're too stubborn to get help. His authority cut through my resistance. Within 20 minutes, we were in the ER, hooked up to machines that beeped ominously. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a cardiologist who looked younger than Elijah, reviewed my EKG with a serious expression. Mr. Whitman, you've had a stress-induced cardiac episode. Not a full heart attack, but your body is warning you it's under too much strain. I'm only 42, I said weakly. Stress doesn't care about age, she replied. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. Your cortisol levels are through the roof. Frankly, you're lucky it wasn't worse. She sat beside my bed. I need honest answers. Have you been under unusual stress lately? I glanced at Elijah, sitting scared in the corner. How do you explain to a doctor that your wife's infidelity and your best friend's betrayal are eating you alive? Some family issues, I said carefully. Dad, Elijah whispered. Tell her the truth. Dr. Mitchell looked between us. Whatever is happening at home, Mr. Whitman, it's literally affecting your heart. Your body cannot sustain this level of stress much longer. My wife has been having an affair, I said finally. I found out this week. We're probably getting divorced. In your business? She asked. Are you the primary earner? We own a travel agency together. If we divorce, I'll likely have to buy her out or sell everything, I admitted. Dr. Mitchell nodded grimly. Mr. Whitman, be blunt. If you don't manage this stress, you could face a real heart attack in the next few months, or sooner. The room went quiet except for the beeping machines. Elijah stared at his hands, tears in his eyes. What do I do? I asked. First, medication to lower your blood pressure, she said. Second, remove the stress factors immediately. That may mean hard decisions about your marriage and business. So, I should just let her take everything? I asked, feeling anger surge. No, she said firmly. You need to prioritize your health. Your children need their father alive more than they need you to fight a war that's killing you. After Dr. Mitchell left, Elijah sat beside me. Dad, he said quietly, I can't lose you too. You're not going to lose me, I said. But even as I spoke, I wondered if it was true. Stop trying to be the hero, Elijah said, voice breaking. Mom made her choice. She chose him over our family. Don't let her choice destroy you too. Looking at my son, seeing the fear and pain in his eyes, I realized he was right. I had been so focused on what was mine that I forgot what mattered, being alive and present for my children. Okay, I said, squeezing his hand. We'll figure out another way. 2 days later, back home with medication and strict orders to reduce stress, my lawyer called with news that changed everything. Lance David Bergen here, he said over the phone. I've reviewed the evidence you provided. Brenna's affair, the financial records, hotel receipts, the corporate connection. We need to discuss your options. I was sitting in my home office, the same room where I confronted Brenna a week ago. It already felt like a lifetime. What kind of options? I asked. Arizona is a community property state, which usually means everything is split 50-50 in a divorce, David explained. But there are exceptions if one spouse has used marital assets to support an extramarital relationship. You mean the money she spent on hotels and dinners with Devin? I asked. Exactly. But there's something else. Lance, something bigger. David's voice grew serious. Her affair with a client representative could be seen as a breach of fiduciary duty to your business partnership. If we prove she used business connections for personal gain, we might argue for dissolution of the partnership with costs in your favor. I leaned back in my chair, processing what he said. What does that mean in practice? Instead of getting half, she could walk away with much less. Maybe just her personal assets and a small settlement, while the business remains entirely yours, especially if you can show her actions jeopardize client relationships. I thought about Dr. Mitchell's warning and Elijah's plea to stop being the hero. But I also thought of 18 years of life and business destroyed by my wife's selfishness. There's one more thing, David continued. Given Elijah's age and maturity, and the fact he's seen his mother's deceptive behavior, family court may be receptive to his wishes about custody. You mean? I asked. Document Brenna's impact on the children, Elijah's emotional distress, the lies, the instability she caused, and argue that primary custody should stay with you. My heart raced, but this time from possibility, not stress. What would I need to do? I asked. Document everything. The affair, the lies, the effect on the kids. Get statements from witnesses. Show she put her relationship with Devin above her duties as a mother. If she fights it, take it all to court, David said grimly. But this is a nuclear option. Once filed, there's no going back to an amicable divorce. I looked around my office, family photos, business awards on the wall. Everything I'd built hanging in the balance because of my wife's betrayal. Do it, I said firmly. File the papers. Are you sure, Lance? It's going to get ugly fast, David warned. I'm sure, I replied, voice steady for the first time in days. My wife had an affair with a client, used our business as cover, lied to our kids, and nearly gave me a heart attack. If she wanted to play nice, she shouldn't have destroyed our lives. All right, David said. Papers will be ready by Monday. Be prepared for her to fight back hard. Let her fight, I said, thinking of Elijah's mature words and Lily's confused tears. I'm fighting for my children, not my marriage. After hanging up, I sat in the quiet of my office and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: control. For the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't reacting to Brenna's choices. I was making my own. Wednesday evening, while reviewing legal documents, my mother called. Patricia Whitman had never been a fan of Brenna, and her tone told me she knew about the divorce papers. Lance, she said bluntly, Elijah told me about the affair. About your hospitalization. Mom, I don't need a lecture right now, I said, rubbing my temples. No, she said firmly. You need the truth about Brenna's family history. Something in her voice made me sit up straight. What are you talking about? Your father-in-law, Robert, she said. He had multiple affairs during his marriage to Diane. I never told you because it wasn't my place. But now, my blood ran cold. Brenna's father repeatedly cheated on her mother. The whole family knew, but kept it quiet. Diane stayed for appearances, an open secret in their social circle. I thought about Brenna's seemingly perfect childhood, her close bond with her parents, her praise of their marriage as a model. She never told me, I said quietly. Of course not, Mom confirmed. Acknowledging it would mean admitting her perfect family was built on lies and betrayal. Why tell me now? I asked. Because patterns repeat, Lance, she said sadly. Brenna grew up watching her mother pretend everything was fine while her father did as he pleased. She learned love means tolerating betrayal, that marriage is about appearances. The pieces clicked with horrible clarity. Brenna's casual attitude toward her affair, her expectation that I'd tolerate it, her surprise when I refused to play along. She expected me to be like her mother. I understand, I said. She expected me to look the other way. Mom confirmed. That's what she learned love looks like. I hung up and immediately called David Bergen. David, I need you to add something to the court filings. I said pattern of family dysfunction, generational infidelity. I want a psychological evaluation ordered. That's aggressive, Lance. What's the reasoning? Brenna comes from a family where cheating was normalized, I explained. Her father had multiple affairs, and her mother stayed silent. If we show Brenna's behavior is part of a learned pattern, we can argue she is likely to repeat it and shouldn't have primary custody. David nodded. It's possible, but we need evidence. I'll get it, I said grimly. My mother had kept 30 years of family secrets. It was time they came to light. Thursday morning, the papers were served. Brenna called screaming. How dare you, she shrieked. You're trying to take my children. No, I said calmly. I'm protecting them from a mother who thinks lying and cheating are normal in marriage. That's not true, is it? I asked. Did you ever tell me about your father's affairs? Did you ever think to share that little family tradition? The silence was deafening. My mother told me everything. I continued. About Robert, your mother enabling him. About how you grew up thinking betrayal is part of love. That has nothing to do with this, Brenna said weakly. It has everything to do with this, I replied. You didn't just cheat on me. You recreated your parents' dysfunctional marriage and expected me to play along. Lance, please, she said, crying. We can work this out. No, I said firmly. I'm not your mother. And I won't teach our children that this is what love looks like. I hung up and immediately called Elijah. Son, things are about to get ugly. Your mother will fight these custody papers hard. Let her fight, Elijah said firmly. Dad, whatever happens, Lily and I are staying with you. 6 months later, I stood in my new downtown office, looking out over Phoenix spreading under the desert sun. Adventures Unlimited had relocated after I bought out Brenna's share. The Pinnacle marketing contract was gone. Devin had been fired when the affair became public, but new clients valued integrity over personal connections. Elijah knocked on my door. Dad, ready? Today was the final custody hearing. After months of legal battles, psychological evaluations, and testimony from family members, we would finally know where Lily would live most of the time. As ready as I'll ever be, I said, straightening my tie. The courtroom was tense. Brenna sat with her lawyer, looking smaller than I remembered. She had moved in with Devin, but their relationship ended quickly once the secrecy disappeared. Judge Sarah Reynolds reviewed the files carefully. This court has reviewed extensive documentation regarding the impact of Mrs. Whitman's extramarital relationship on the family. Psychological evaluations, witness testimony, and the minor children's preferences have been considered, she said. I held my breath. Given the systematic deception, emotional trauma to the children, and documented health impact on Mr. Whitman, primary physical custody of Lily Whitman is awarded to her father. Relief washed over me. David squeezed my shoulder. Mrs. Whitman will have supervised visitation every other weekend, with possible modification pending successful family therapy, the judge continued. Brenna cried, but she didn't seem surprised. The evidence was overwhelming. Outside the courthouse, Lily ran to me and hugged tightly. We get to stay together, Dad, she said, muffled against my chest. All of us, Elijah added, putting an arm around his sister. That evening, we sat in our new home, smaller than the old one but ours, eating pizza and watching a movie. It wasn't the life I had planned, but it was honest, real, built on truth instead of lies. My phone buzzed with a text from my cardiologist. Latest tests look great. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. What I was doing was simple. Choosing peace over victory, truth over comfort, my children's well-being over my wounded pride. A year later, I met Jennifer at a business conference. A travel blogger from Denver, funny, genuine, with laugh lines that spoke of a life fully lived. She listened when I shared my divorce, the affair, and the custody battle, without judgment. Sounds like you chose yourself and your kids over a toxic situation, she said simply. It wasn't easy, I admitted. Right choices rarely are, she replied. We're taking things slow, building something real on honesty. Elijah likes her because she doesn't try to replace his mother, only adds joy to our lives. Lily likes her because she laughs at dad jokes and bakes perfect chocolate chip cookies. Brenna sends birthday cards and attends school events. Devin left her 6 months after the divorce. Apparently married women are less exciting than affairs. She's now in therapy, finally facing the generational patterns that almost destroyed our family. Sometimes I think what might have happened if I had tolerated betrayal like Brenna's mother. But then I look at my children, confident, honest, unafraid to demand respect, and I know I made the right choice. My name is Lance Whitman. I'm 43, and I've learned that sometimes protecting your family means being willing to break it apart. The life I'm building now isn't perfect, but it's mine. Built on truth, strengthened by adversity, and filled with people who choose to be here. That's enough. That's everything.